Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's CX Quick Tips. And we're sitting here, and it's February 16th, 2021. And for those of you who have joined previous CX Quick Tips that we have each and every Tuesday at 1:05 Eastern, we do broadcast those at cxglobalmedia.com/live, which actually takes us at this moment to YouTube. And we may be broadcasting in other platforms at some other time. You would often see a guest with me, another CX expert. But I'm saving them the opportunity for this particular discussion because it can be, somewhat controversial. And I wanted to make sure that if anybody's going to receive any hate mail from it, that it's just going to be me. Okay. Oftentimes, when you start talking about the customer experience, there's questions that I hear people getting into. I don't want to say heated debate, but maybe some passionate discussion around what are the things that's going to cause, a more customer-centric culture. How can we create a customer experience, type of culture that's going to cause internally the organization to unite, engage, and then therefore deliver the experience that our customers are seeking and will cause us to differentiate. And I wanted to talk to you today about micro commitments. Micro commitments are something that you get exposed to every single day. You get inundated with them. They are the things that cause you to personally engage with maybe even your own self-health, your own focus in on your finances, your loved ones. It's also micro commitments are something that causes you to, pull out your wallet or your money or whatever the case may be, your credit card, your debit card, whatever you use, your Venmo, your PayPal account, it doesn't matter. Micro commitments cause you to act in a way by which you otherwise maybe wouldn't act on a whim. And you're saying, well, what is this stuff? Well, in the contact center space, we often hear about something that is very, very common from a technology perspective. So if you have speech analytics, if you're using some other type of, maybe even, self-help or assist, type of solution that is using, speech as its underlying mechanism. There's a lot of different technologies out there that are AI driven that's using the underlying, speech technologies because it all gets converted to text. And all of that, can take and make a difference to us being able to deliver a better customer experience. And we hear about natural language processing. Okay, so how do we take the natural language and convert it, into something that will maybe access our database for knowledge management, may be able to present, particular cues to agents for helping them to serve customers, or, if it's a self-help scenario, provide customers with the information they need to be served. So, natural language processing is something that if you're not exposed into the technology, you may hear more and more of that as you get involved with contact center technologies and customer experience technologies. Well, there's another type of NLP that's been around for a very long time that's also critically important, and it's called neuro-linguistic programming. Now, NLP, not the technology-based NLP that we know, not natural language processing, but neuro-linguistic programming, is something that, again, many marketers, salespeople, advertisers, public speakers, authors, it's something that they use in order to be able to influence us, to make a decision, to think about their idea and approve, the thinking. To political parties are using it all the time. The people who are writing copy and writing speeches are using neuro-linguistic programming to influence us. One of the people who's widely popular in this world in regards to self-help and health and wealth and all of that, Tony Robbins, has been a long time neuro-linguistic programming expert. And it's one of the reasons why he's been so impactful in our world. And thank goodness he uses it for good in a lot of, philanthropy, my tongue's getting twisted today, philanthropy endeavors. And so, but he's also made himself a multi-millionaire many times over, right? Probably even a billionaire now. He doesn't often expose a lot of that stuff. But NLP and neuro-linguistic programming and micro commitments are vital to you to be able to be proactive in creating that culture that's going to deliver that customer experience. So when you get the questions of how do I get executive buy-in? Well, micro commitments will help you do that. How can I get employees to engage? Micro commitments can help you do that. How do I improve the customer experience? Micro commitments will help you do that. How do I engage customers and how do I get them to engage? Micro commitments will help you do that. And so you may say, well, this is brainwashing, Jim. Okay. Hey, we have to admit that we're kind of getting brainwashed, with NLP practices every day. And for me, I kind of get frustrated when I get into forums and I get into discussions and people start talking about, this customer experience and how do we get all of these things, executive buy-in, employee engagement, customer buy-in and referrals, improving the customer experience. And they keep saying the same things over and over. And for me, it gets kind of frustrating because I get impatient. I'm like, we need to do something. It's all about acting and making a difference. We have to make a difference in the customer experience. We have to make a difference with employee engagement. And therefore, if you have to become a master at NLP, not natural language processing, although that could help too, but the neuro-linguistic program, we have to do that. We have to do that because if we use it with our good intention, when I think about customer experience people, contact center people, one of the things that's so magnetic to me in regards to our industry is because it's a group of caring people that care for one another. I mean, arguably you can say it's us that don't like the medical stuff. And so we took this path as far as customer service and contact centers. And you know what? It's a beautiful thing. I've heard people who actually put on events across a multiple different industries. And there's some of the larger ones that they may do it in medical devices. They may do it in tech. They may do it in a couple different, segments and sectors. And a lot of those people work across those different, industry silos and segments. And they say internally they fight to do the customer service events because the people are so nice. Well, kudos to us. I mean, that's one reason why I enjoy being part, of this industry. But we have to be able to make movements and take actions. And one of the ways that we can do that is by neuro-linguistic programming and having micro commitments. So what does that look like? So micro commitments are things that, help us to reaffirm and affirm people's thoughts, beliefs, and their effort. So we often hear when we start thinking about engagement, especially internally, this whole intrinsic and extrinsic types of motivators and drivers. And the fact is, when you look at the science of motivation, a lot of the hogwash that you hear associated with that is just that. Really, there's a lot of things that you could be doing, and that, quite frankly, you're doing micro commitments by default. And micro commitments by default happen to us from a very, very early age. It's the things that we hear within our own home, with our own friends, and then we repeat those. And oftentimes you'll probably hear yourself, if you're older, saying some things that your parents have said that may have even irritated you. But they could have been a type of micro commitment where they were trying to get you to do something. Goodness, I know as a father of teenagers, I'm using micro commitments all the time, but not in a positive way. A lot of times I do it and I undermine my own desire and intent because I want the best for my kids. You want the best for your employees. You want the best for your team. You want the best for your organization. So you want to use micro commitments in a positive way. So take it down in a simplistic fashion, right? So asking an executive about what are the things that are important to you about the customer experience. And then you take that information and then you use that in a positive way to maybe convey other pieces of information, and it comes first. So for example, hey, you had mentioned to me that this was important to you about the customer experience. So therefore I wanted to share this with you. And sharing that with them could be something that reinforces, their commitment. It could be something that potentially you perceive or others perceive as a contradiction, right? So, hey, boss, you said that this was important about the customer experience, but when this information came out, a lot of people are struggling with what you committed to and what's important to you about the customer experience. And what that does, that helps you get into a significantly deeper dialogue that you otherwise wouldn't get. It would also give you the opportunity to obtain perspectives that you otherwise wouldn't get. Here's one of the things that I see and why I wanted to have this call and the CX Quick Tips with just myself, because it can become quite controversial. The reality is that at least here in the United States, and quite frankly, we can take it throughout the world, these micro commitments and this persuasion and this influence and this neuro-linguistic programming is getting used on us all the time, sometimes for evil, sometimes to create conflict. We have seen it happen all the time. This duopoly political system that we have with Republicans and Democrats, you're getting these micro commitment things thrown at you all the time. If you watch the news, you're getting it all of the time. What we have to do is become aware so that we don't fall victim to them and that we don't repeat them, right? How are we going to work cross-functionally? How are we going to deliver that customer experience that differentiates? It's by using these micro commitments and then being aware and intentional about them. We need to use them. So one of the things that we do at Call Center Coach is, from a leadership development perspective, in our virtual academy, is talk about these types of things to taking action. We have to quit whining and complaining about not getting executive buy-in. We must stop whining and complaining about why we don't have employee engagement. We must stop whining and complaining about why customers don't engage. We have to take better and more positive actions. They have to be positive with intent and action. So micro commitments can be a differentiator for you, both personally and professionally. You're using them now. You are. It's all part of our default mechanism system. I use them all the time. And as I told you, I fail too at it. And sometimes I have a boomerang effect. I tried to have positive intent. I didn't use it correctly, and it came back at me in spades, and it just hit me, and I had to readjust and recover. But I'm trying to be more intentional each and every day to getting the micro commitments so that I get better buy-in at home, better buy-in at work, better buy-in with my people, better buy-in with my team, better buy-in with my customers. Now, I would love to hear how you're using micro commitments proactively. And if you aren't, what are you going to do to take steps to start building micro commitments with positive intent today? I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care.